And good evening, everybody. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Safestay is a hostel business, quite different to the industries we've heard from earlier this evening. I'll skip through this slide. I'm here this evening with Mark Beveridge, our Finance Director, and we're going to do a bit of a double act. I'll take us through the first sort of half, and then Mark will see the presentation through. For those of you that aren't familiar with Safestay, I've just got a short video for you to give you a flavour of our business. Hostels often conjures up some images, not necessarily all positive images in the mind, and I hope that gives you a taste of how Safestay positions itself in the hostel market. What we're doing is we're creating a branded contemporary boutique hostel group. In terms of the accommodation we offer in our hostels, there's a range of individual private rooms, much like a budget hotel bedroom or a boutique hotel bedroom, up to larger rooms that are dormitories with bunk beds. And you saw some examples there of the different type of accommodation product that we have. We have really great locations. At the moment, there's 4 properties, and I'll run through each of those in due course. You can see it's a premium product. There's nothing seedy or down market about Safestay. We position ourselves as a high quality hostel. And the key for us is being located in strong city centre locations. That's really what our guests are looking for. In terms of our key customers, it's a range of customers we see coming through our business. There's traditional backpackers, and those can be both domestic and international travellers. There are small groups of a group of small friends, and that would for us range anywhere between 5 and 9 people in a small group. We also have a significant proportion of our business is larger groups, so 10 or more people. And that can be up to 45% of our business is larger groups. And those can be education groups, language schools, school groups, sports groups. So a broad range of group enquiries that we're fielding and looking after. It's very appealing also for families to stay with us. It's a good value alternative to maybe having interconnecting rooms in a hotel. And also we're seeing couples staying in our private accommodation rooms who perhaps fancy something a little bit different from a budget hotel accommodation option, something a bit more interesting and lively than what can be quite a tired or less exciting accommodation solution a hotel could offer. We own 3 of our properties freehold, and the 4th is on a long leasehold basis, so there is a real estate underpinning of the business as well. In terms of our customers, most of them are termed as millennials, those that are born after 1980, just like Mark and I, so we very much reflect our target audience. And these guys have a very different outlook on life to some of us slightly more mature individuals. So they just don't understand a world without Wi-Fi. There's examples we have in our business where the boilers might break, there's no hot water, and frankly that doesn't really matter. But if there's no Wi-Fi, heavens, it's like the world has stopped turning. So having great Wi-Fi is absolutely critical, and that's free to guests. Around 23% of international travellers are termed as youth travellers, so there's a big market potential there for us to tap into. And the value of that market's around $250 billion US. Millennials tend to use word of mouth, lots of social media platforms. They behave and interact and see the world quite differently from more traditional sort of older markets that traditionally hotel groups have been looking after. So what is it about hostels that really underpins our business and makes it appealing to our target audience? Well, our guests are primarily looking for, in the first instance, location. Location is absolutely key. Our businesses have to be located in the heart of our cities, right in the middle. So that is number one. Beyond that, our guests are looking for good value, and then security and cleanliness follow quickly after. It isn't necessarily to have a party and it's all singing, all dancing. Folk tend to want to have those four things as their primary reasons for choosing a particular location. Hostels do offer some unique benefits against those requirements. Again, location is number one. It's essential to have a strong location. And in terms of value, because of the range of accommodation options our guests have access to, folk can choose something that suits their price point and their requirement. If folk really want the cheapest bed for the night, they would choose a bed in a larger shared dormitory, and that could be costing anywhere between £16 and £20 for the bed for the night. If they want a little bit more privacy, they would choose a smaller dormitory, and that price would increase because that's a more premium product. And then if they wanted absolute privacy, they could have one of the smaller dorms, or one of our more bedroom type products, and those are then priced similar to budget hotels. So a private room would be anywhere from £60 to £130, and that could sleep 2, 3 or 4 depending on the configuration of that individual room. So you can see there's a range of products, a range of prices that suit different requirements. I guess the second thing that really separates hostels from budget hotels, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Airbnb, Flipkey, Place to Stay, a lot of these sort of sharing platforms, is hostels have fantastic social spaces. And you've seen from the video there some of the social spaces we have. So our guests are typically staying with us for leisure reasons. They might be individuals or groups, but they're really visiting Edinburgh, for example, with our property here. They're here to visit Edinburgh and explore Edinburgh, and to have great social spaces, to interact with other guests and the staff, to understand where to go, what to do, some guidance on getting the best out of their stay. That's something that Hostels does really well, and that's the magic sauce that separates a hostel from either a budget hotel or a private flat you've found through Airbnb, where it's very much more of a lonely experience staying in those accommodation solutions. Hostel does offer something a little bit different that makes your stay a little bit more social. So why Safestay? Well, it's a premium offer. The product, our standards, the quality of the product we have, it is absolutely at the top of the hostel market. We're very proud to have what was Smart City Hostels in Edinburgh join the family in September, and I'll walk through that a little later, but that's head and shoulders the best hostel in the Edinburgh market, and our other properties are similarly the best hostels in their respective markets. We offer value for money. The price points, as I said, are very keen, and we continually benchmark our pricing, and we have full-time people looking at our pricing daily to make sure we're priced according to demand and supply in our markets. And what we're not is a party hostel. Some of our competitors position themselves very much as a low-cost bed, but they'll have attached to that business a bar or a pub restaurant, and their model is very much to drive the food and drink element, or predominantly drink element. So the accommodation can be a bit of a loss leader. Let's get folk in, and then there's a captive market to have the party and go for it. And most of their profits are derived from the food and beverage operation. Ours is quite different. We're heavily leaning towards the accommodation element as our key revenue driver. Oops, apologies. So just quickly touch on the London market. We have 2 properties in London combining to 800 beds. The London market sees just under 18 million international arrivals in 2014. Of those, about 8.9 million are visiting for holiday reasons, and you can see the other numbers just under there. So if we take 23% of all those arrivals as youth, that gives us a potential market of 4 million millennial visitors arriving in London. The supply of hostels in London is only sitting at 4%. There's 63 hostels in London out of a total of significantly more hotels, 1,535 hotels. So there is a significant undersupply of hostels, and we see that from the discussions we have with some of our contracted suppliers of business. There is a significant undersupply. What we do have, though, is a significant amount of accommodation now appearing through Flipkey, Airbnb and other sharing platforms, and those numbers aren't included in the supply side there. So let me just walk through our 4 properties and introduce those to you. Our first hostel at London Elephant and Castle opened in 2012, but it was bought into Safestay as part of the AIM listing in May 2014. So it's been trading now for just over 3 years. It's 36,000 square feet and it's a freehold property, and it was the former Labour Party head office, John Smith House. It has 413 beds, 74 rooms, and that has got extensive social spaces, and it's got a very nice outdoor area, which is quite unusual for London. So as opposed to sitting on the curb, our guests can enjoy some private gardens when the warmer weather arrives. For those of you that know Elephant and Castle, it has an interesting reputation. When we first opened, one might say it was a challenging location, but things are moving at quite a pace. There's a lot of investment in this location. We're seeing significant inbound investment and change. There's some really exciting brands coming into this area of London, and we're getting very strong guest feedback on the quality of location. So it points to a really good location for our guests, and also the real estate value has seen significant improvements as well over our period of ownership. Our Holland Park property was acquired. The lease was secured at the back end of 2014, apologies. And through 2015, the property was thoroughly refurbished. We spent just over £2 million. And what we have now is a 50-year lease, which gives us 351 beds. And this is in the heart of Holland Park. It was formerly a YHO. It's a very tired property. You can see there the Grade 1 Jacobean building, which is one of the wings. And there are 2 more modern 1950s blocks there. Again, some fantastic social spaces. We've got private gardens there. It's quite an extraordinary property in London, and the feedback we're getting after just trading a few months from August last year is very strong from our guests, and we're very excited to have that as our second London property. York was acquired just after the IPO in June of 2014, and for the balance of 2014 that went through an extensive refurbishment programme, and that really traded as Safestay York from January 2015, so it's just had its first full year under its belt. It's an absolutely beautiful property, again Grade 1 listed. Hostels, you can see there again there's quite a significant undersupply of hostels in the York market. They represent just 3% of the room stock in York. And this property has got 147 beds across 23 rooms. And the feedback we get from our guests again is very strong. And we've got some great social spaces on the ground floor and in the basement area there. And we're glad to say it's on fairly high ground as well. So with the recent moisture we had in York, we were unaffected, thankfully, with that challenge the city faced. And our most recent addition to the family, some of you may know, just literally down Blackfriars Street, is Smart City Hostels by Safestay. And that came on board September the 16th of last year. That's 47,000 square feet, and there are 3 businesses in that particular property. There's a 270-bed hostel that trades year-round. There are 81 rooms leased to the University of Edinburgh for 9 months of the year. And then for the 3 months that the university doesn't have those rooms, they're converted to hostel rooms. And our hostel capacity jumps from 270 to 615. And the third business is a standalone bar restaurant trading as Bar 50. So I'd encourage you, if you're thirsty after this evening, to pop down and have a beer. Happily pick up the tab for the first one. We've been thrilled with the trading performance since acquisition, and it really does establish us as the leading hostel operator in the UK with 4 prime assets, 2 in London, 1 in Edinburgh, 1 in York. There's a natural East Coast sort of swing to that portfolio, and it puts us in a great position to reach out into Europe, which is our declared next step. In terms of competition, there are a few competitors in the sector. The most predominant ones are Generator, Beds and Bars, which trades as St Christopher's and Belushi, and there is one in Edinburgh that I'm sure you might be familiar with. A&O, which are predominantly German-based in Austria. Meininger, similarly, they're more German-based business. Clink and Wombats. So there isn't a predominance or a particular market leader in the hostel space. And you'd say there's many parallels with the hotel industry some 30 years ago. It's a fragmented market, no standout market leaders, and that's the opportunity we see at Safestay, is to really accelerate and build a branded portfolio of quality hostels. We're winning market share, and that's from our direct competitors, independent B&Bs and independent hotels that are getting pretty tired, other branded budget hotels, and certainly folk who perhaps might have been loyal to hotels, who through the likes of Airbnb and Flipkey have decided to try different accommodation solutions. We're seeing that migration away from hotels, helping get folk into hostels as an alternative accommodation. So I'm often asked, is it a threat? And for me, they're really helping us change perceptions of where folk can stay. So for me, it's a real positive. So let me pass over to Mark, and he'll walk us through some of the metrics. Mark.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, everybody. I just thought I'd quickly go through the main revenue drivers for the business. The prime revenue driver for our business is the beds. It accounts for somewhere in the region, depends on the hostel, of between 71 and 97% of the revenue for each hostel. So those with a greater F&B component will have a lot lower revenue component. So fundamentally, the business is either you get them in at a high rate or you get a high occupancy, and all the revenue management tools we've got in place will deliver that. We're seeing consistent growth in revenue for Elephant Castle, and I'll come on to that in a little bit. It's fundamentally a cash business, so we actually get our money up front. We get 10% when the person's booked, and we actually get the money in advance of the person's stay. They pay on arrival. So we have no issues in relation to cash management or anything like that from a debt collection perspective. Going forward, we may introduce a few credit sales opportunities where the revenues will be high, but we're generally a cash business. And as I say, the customers pay on arrival or in advance. Our ancillary revenues come from two main sources. Primarily from the F&B operation. We actually give, we used to have a breakfast that was included with the stay. Now we charge for the breakfasts, other than with groups, which is actually paid for in advance as well. And there are F&B, there's a 24-hour F&B operation that's available. In addition, we have some ancillary businesses, ancillary services such as towel rentals, sundry sales, padlock sales for the safe stores in the rooms, which is a relatively small part of the business. Our growth model is to actually build those elements of the business as well. In terms of our staffing, in terms of our cost side of things, the biggest cost for us is staff. In terms of, if you look at somewhere like Elephant and Castle, about 24% of the revenues, total revenues, will come in the form of staff. But what we actually are able to do is we have a lot of hourly paid staff, so we're able to flex those staff to meet sort of the revenue demands, and it gives us a good cost management control. Other aspects of the cost base, pretty much premises, cost of sales in terms of the F&B operation, and housekeeping, pretty much laundry. Right, in terms of where we are, at our interim announcement, we had net assets of 8.4 million, which was up from 5.8 million in the previous year. That was before the Edinburgh acquisition and the fundraise in August. Safestay London Elephant and Castle was valued at 12.2 million as a freehold property. York, 2.35 million. Holland Park is our only lease operation, and we would consider further leases if they were a sensible proposition for us. And more recently acquired Safestay Edinburgh Castle, Safestay Edinburgh. I have a habit at the moment. I keep calling it Edinburgh Castle, so apologies for that. I will get round to it eventually. I've come from the hotel industry, and one of the problems is I've called these hotels for the last 3 months since I've been here. I've now called them hostels, so I'm going to move on to Elephant and Castle eventually. Financing, we're pretty much 50% geared. We have a term loan provided by Coutts, and we have 3.8 million of convertible loan stock. The conversion, I believe, is going to be 2017, if I remember rightly. Overall, the property have been independently valued at 29.6 million. So, where are we going with the business? As Phil said, we're actually planning to build a sort of, our growth model is more hostels. Ideally, we will invest in them ourselves, but there is potential with this type of brand to franchise it or do some other growth opportunities in some ways going forward. We've got 4 in London, 4 in the UK. One of the things that we're looking for at the moment is to grow in key cities around the UK and Europe. And our next stage, I think, is to try and get into Europe. So we are sort of actively looking at the moment, but we will need to provide finance for that going forward. And so we have a further 4 to 6, we would ideally like to have about 4 to 6 hostels in London over the course of the next few years. That is primarily in the UK where we would target our future growth. Outside that, potentially a franchise model. But key cities in Europe is the sort of strategy that we're developing at the moment. So one of the interesting things having come from the hotel market is when we're looking at development opportunities, we actually, as a hostel business, have much greater flexibility than hotels in purchasing or getting new buildings to develop. So we have a greater flexibility than the hotel industry. We are generating cash with every one of our properties so that we are profitable and we have a quality revenue stream. That means, in effect, we have a very strong base business and we're developing that, so we will be able to yield the marginal business much more effectively going forward. As I said, we have efficient staffing levels and we have flexibility in that. One of the things that is very interesting with this business as well is that we generate a very good margin on each of the hostels. We've got a strong head office business now, and as we slot in extra hotels, we will bring marginal gains into the business. And as you'll see in the later slide, Elephant and Castle is now generating close to 50% EBITDA. One of the other benefits is that we have grown a brand and we are now in a good position to grow compared to our competitors who are somewhat disparate within the market. The other thing that I like, and having come from the hospitality industry, there is increasing acceptance for some of the old perceived marginal products, and the hostel market, I think, is growing in acceptance. So this is just a very brief slide of Elephant and Castle. It's the only one that we have that is a mature site, but as you can see, within our first 6 months, we were actually occupying the hostel at 48.3% of the time, and we're stabilising close to 80% occupancy in 2015. So very, very strong occupancy. We've actually grown to stabilised occupancy very quickly as well. As you see, it's quite interesting because our average bed rate is close to £20 on a net basis. Sorry, yes, I'm virtually on my last slide. So we're close to £20, but that's pretty consistent across the board for all our hostels. And as you see, we're close to 47% EBITDA now for Elephant and Castle. So I think it's quite a good story to tell. Our strategy: grow the brand, grow the margin. I reckon we can get over 50% in Elephant and Castle very, very quickly. We're focusing on our strategic partnerships. So we're looking at every opportunity to generate revenues. And with that, we've introduced an internet booking engine now that allows us to leverage lots of business opportunities from that. We're looking to expand into London and expand across Europe.
Got time for one question.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Anyway, there's a few hands, so I'm going to take gentleman at the back there. You've had questions before, so you've got a chance over the break in a minute to do that.
I have a slight concern about your understanding of your target markets. You said at the start that your target market lives by these things and Wi-Fi. And while you've been talking, I've tried to book a room in every one of your properties, and I cannot get access at all.
Well,
what's your response to that?
I'll get straight onto it as soon as we finish. So
because the bottom line is that your target market won't give you that generosity. If they can't get onto you to book via this, they'll not try a second time.
No,
I need some kind of
totally accept
reassurance that.
Absolutely. So in terms of ways folk can book with us, there's direct through our own website, and the technology you're using to book via our own platform went live just a month ago, and we're still bedding it in. It has been consistent and robust, but it hasn't been 100%. So thank you for flagging that, and I'll get straight onto that. There are other channels to book with us. The vast majority of our business comes through online travel agents. Booking.com is the primary source of business. Hostel World and Hostel Bookers also provide significant volumes. Our own channel accounts for, at the moment, around about 8% of our bookings. So what our challenge is now we've developed a brand is to grow brand.com as a channel and get that growing, and that in further investment, make sure it's stable and working well, and then drive more traffic through that. Since going live just in the middle of January with that platform, we're taking about £1,000 a day through that, which annualises to around about a £40,000 saving on the commissions we would be paying to the likes of Booking.com and Hostel World. It's a technology that we need to further invest in and stabilise. So thank you for flagging that this evening.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for the question.